No, we could rehash what we were just talking about with Fortnite.
We're done. We're done. Like, because I think the last episode, yeah, we were just like kind of lethargic and out of it.
Yeah.
And it's like,
still am to some degree.
Yeah. Well, it's like the last couple days have been like when you have a big assignment that you have to turn in, and then you turn it in, but in your mind you're still like, I still have to do something. There's something I still need to do. Like, what am I missing right now that I need to do? And it's like, no, like, as soon as I like handed him the flash drive with the movie on it, then I was like, it's like we're finally done. Like, I don't have to, agonize over it anymore.
I haven't felt that yet. I still feel like on edge, but that could be because of other things.
Yeah.
But
yeah, there's like a low level edge now, which is just waiting to see if we made it or we get disqualified for
maybe that's what I gotta wait for.
Taking their rules and stretching them as far as we can.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll be it'll be interesting either way to see, like, if it makes it or not. I think I'll be a little surprised regardless of the outcome. Won't announce it yet, but it'll be on YouTube in a few weeks once this is out. We'll put the thing. We did a sequel to one of our shorts. I forgot if we mentioned that previously, but
I don't remember. Yeah.
But
which is very ambitious for us to do a sequel to a thing we did 8 years ago. Yeah. That really only we remember, vividly.
Yeah. It was a lot of shooting too. Like three different days of shooting is like, usually for these we cram it all in like one day. For the Fortnite contest specifically, we're pretty good at getting everything done in one day, but this time it was just, there was a lot of locations, a lot of different kind of pieces that needed fitting. Yeah. So 3 separate days, and then it was like back and forth editing for 4 days after that. It was like, I was just exhausted, and then it just hasn't.
Well, you guys had some late nights too, because you could only really do it like after one of the main locations was closed, which I feel pretty good about that location being used, because I think everything else that we've done in previous years has been either like the basement of your brother's house, the woods,
which we still used, but it looked different.
Yes. Yeah, but it's like either the woods, someone's house, or like a structure that we find somewhere. Mm-hmm. And like shooting in where you guys did like the later stuff, I feel like that adds like a little bit of legitimacy. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, like you actually went to a real location and didn't like try to fake it, or cheese it,
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of like with Step Bro, we did it at the church. Mm-hmm. Which like kind of worked, except for like the giant empty sanctuary.
Yeah, but we played that into the thing or whatever.
Yeah. So, watch this space either way. So there'll be either an episode where we're like kind of surprised and excited, or kind of surprised and bummed in the future.
Which, feels like not that much different than like just how I live my life day to day anyways. So welcome back, ladies and sorry, my penis sneezed. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of There Will Be Duds. I'm your co-host TJ, and with me as always I'm Nick. And as always, we watched a movie. That movie this week being Gigli from 2003, directed by Martin Brest. It is about a mobster heavy who is ordered to kidnap the son of this like prosecutor who is prosecuting his mob boss, so that they can like use him as leverage for the case or something against him. But his boss doesn't trust him, so he brings in another enforcer person who is a woman, and he's a man. So they butt heads. But there's some other interesting aspects to characters of the kidnapped person and the woman that
I can
affect the story. And yeah, it's like a romantic comedy mob thing. Yeah, and it was I think it was billed high because it's got Ben Affleck, Jennifer Lopez, who were like the it couple at the time.
Yeah.
As well as a bunch of other like big names who show up for like one scene, which is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just kind of known as, I think it is or was at the time like the biggest flop as far as like the most expensive flop, like the highest budget, and I think it was probably because of that cast, because otherwise they're not doing much. It's not like there's any big crazy stunts or anything.
Yeah, on the IMDb trivia it says that Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck were both paid around the ballpark of $12 million a piece.
Jesus Christ.
Which the worldwide gross of the film was $7,266,000.
Oh my God.
So 24 million for both of them for their roles, and they like their combined salaries are more than 3 times the film's worldwide gross.
Jesus Christ, dude! I didn't know that was the
I'm gonna come out early on this episode, and I'm gonna say justice for Martin Brest.
Okay.
It's not on the same scale as The Island of Dr. Moreau, but there was like a decent amount of studio meddling that I think made this movie, which probably would have been forgettable. It switched it from forgettable to notoriously bad, to the point where the director retired from making movies after it.
Yeah, dude, that's crazy.
It is because that I think he originally wanted this to be more of a straightforward mobster movie. And apparently there is like I think he had to re-edit like 40% of the movie, like reshoot and re-edit a decent chunk of it. And I don't think any of, as far as I can tell, I don't think any of that is like available. So I don't think we're gonna be seeing the Brest cut anytime soon. But from what I've gathered, I think it was meant to be more. It made me think of like one of those like pulpy LA like Elmore Leonard stories, like a Jackie Brown, or like a Get Shorty. Like this seemed like the way that that Larry Gigli.
Yeah.
He introduces himself as Gigli, it rhymes with really, like 2 times, and then from the rest of the movie they just call him Larry.
Yeah.
But like that character seemed like a character that would have fit in like Get Shorty or Jackie Brown.
Oh yeah.
Like those, So I was like, okay, I see what the director was going for, and then they turned it into this romance thing. Mm-hmm. Which the way that they do the romance in this is extremely questionable.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there was a Letterboxd review that I saw that made me laugh. That was like, offensive to women, check. Men, check. The LGBT community, check. The differently abled, check. The Italian community, check. Gangsters, bulls and cows, the suicidal, turkeys, jabronis, humans, Al Pacino's legacy, Martin Brest, the cast of Baywatch, anyone with an Australian accent. So yeah, it's they kind of pulled a Duddits with this.
Yeah. It's funny how many like is this our third dud from 2003 and at least the second one from 2003 with the mentally challenged character?
With a just like an otherwise like normal guy, like normal actor who's in other things portraying him. I recognize because Chloe was like, "Oh yeah, the guy from like National Treasure is in it."
Yeah.
And then I looked at it, I was like, "Oh shit, it's that guy." And then you meet him, and then you're like, "Oh no!" It must be something about that time period. Like I don't know if people were just riding the high off Forrest Gump,
and then I Am Sam. He had major I Am Sam vibes. The actor in this, Justin Bartha.
Yeah.
Look like polyseeds to me.
They're sunflower seeds.
That's the same thing. So we just call them polyseeds when I was a kid.
You must be as stupid as Percy, you pisser fucker.
Which is funny because I saw the guy who did the music also scored I Am Sam, which I thought was coincidence.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. And then also like just weird kind of overlaps, coincidences with other movies from the time. This is not the first movie starring Ben Affleck where he fixes a lesbian and turns her straight.
I saw that in the trivia.
Because it's the Kevin Smith movie, Chasing Amy. And yeah, and then when Jennifer Lopez was like, "I'm a lesbian," I was like, "Oh, what?" So that was funny that when we were doing Brokeback Mountain, there was that little bit about Matt Damon being like, "I can't do this. I already did a gay movie and I already did a cowboy movie. I can't do a gay cowboy movie." But Ben Affleck's like, "Yeah, I'll bang another lesbian, sure." Like,
sounds awesome. That's my favorite thing.
He wants to be that guy. He's the guy who's so hot that he can like win over any woman, no matter their orientation.
Yeah, there and there's some of the most insane quotes about that, about like him like talking about like the kind of doing that like 90s comedian like men are like this, women are like that kind of shtick. But there's like that one part where he literally does like a fist bump and he's like, "The penis."
Yeah, dude. There was a lot of like weird made me uncomfortable. It made me really uncomfortable how like the mentions of like the whole like the yoga scene, and she's like talking about like the woman's body and like, "Oh, the mouth is like the vagina," and
they both have lips, and what's the first thing you do when you want to kiss a woman? You want to kiss her lips. You know what else has lips? And I'm like, huh?
Yeah.
Huh?
And then that she like when she says like my vagina or like my pussy or whatever, she says both. She like spreads her legs open as she's like doing like right when she says it, and I'm like, I think this is supposed to be sexy, but it is just making me incredibly uncomfortable. It feels so weird.
Bottom of the sea, the moon, the stars, there is no place, nowhere that has been the object of more ambitions, more battles, than the sweet, sacred mystery between a woman's legs that I am proud to call my pussy.
And then I'm just picturing the other guy, Bartha, the other guy, just like in the other room, just beaten off. Like he's he's just like, oh, I think
you just hear him from behind the wall going, "God bless you, God bless you, God bless you." Like,
my penis is sneezing.
I was thinking that like at the end scene, which I don't know, like I was gonna say it's weird. It's like, yeah, like I feel like that's my one word description for like most all scenes in this movie is it was weird. Where they're just like, yeah, we're just gonna drop him off and like say Avita Sane, just leave him at this beach, I guess, where he's gonna live forever.
They like
on the set of from Justin to Kelly or whatever.
Yeah. They like call his brother, who's this district attorney. He calls him from a payphone and gets through to him, like a direct line through to him, like instantly. Which, like, if he's a high level, I don't know. Maybe that's like a nitpick. But he just picks up the phone and he's like, "Hey, can I talk to the district attorney?" "Yeah, cool. Hey, district attorney." Like, he just gets through to him immediately. But it's like, yeah, it's because the movie has like 10 minutes left and it's trying to resolve all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And you can't just like have it end where you like leave a developmentally disabled guy just like on the set of a Baywatch music video or whatever the hell it is that they're doing. Because like we see the Al Pacino scene, which I would argue is like the only like worthwhile scene in the entire movie. That
I thought
like
he
Al
was
Pacino
okay.
is at least like
Taking it seriously, kind of. I felt like more so than like any other movie from this time that I watched over the years.
In my notes, I said that he was doing like his best. Like Alfred Molina at the end of Boogie Nights, where he's just like he's like waving the golden gun around. It's like a guy throwing like firecrackers and shit.
He felt the most like young Al Pacino here. Like he seemed younger than he did in like Heat, which was like 8 years before this. It was like the putting the gray. He probably did have gray hair at this time, anyways. But like. I don't know, the hair and everything, it looked kind of fake, so it made him look younger. And then just like his attitude is more like, I don't know. And I've seen him in more recent things from this where he's obviously increasingly old, where like in The Irishman, he's very old. All those guys in that are like pretty old. And that's the point. I'm not saying that like they're not supposed to be, but it was like, wow, seeing like an older Al Pacino be still like vibrant and energetic like young Al Pacino was kind of refreshing. Despite it still being weird. And like where that scene ended, like she like talked him down and she like went on this big monologue about like why he shouldn't kill them. I did not fucking follow it at all. I'm like, okay, she's saying stuff to him and she's saying like, oh, we're the only ones who can take care of him for you. But it's just the way that it was written was so convoluted. It was so hard to follow. Like I got the gist, but I didn't get how that convinced this character who's like a mob boss who's like, I don't care, I'm just gonna kill you guys. That's who I am. He's like, I don't give a shit. Yeah.
And like as soon as, because like he kind of has this big monologue where he's doing that thing where he's like kind of nice to you and then he like yells at you, like he kind of lulls you, and then he's just like, well, actually I don't think we should do it, he kind of does that. And then as soon as like J-Lo starts like her rebuttal, I'm like, she cannot hold her own against Al Pacino.
No.
Like it was like an instant drop in like, oh, okay, yeah. It was just like a rude reminder that I was still in Gigli.
Yeah.
Like for a split second, I was like, oh, I'm in like a real mobster movie. This is like how a real mobster movie would go. And I'm guessing that's probably like some leftovers of like Martin Brest's original script. Because the mobster plot line, I'd like to see a breakdown of screen time for the romance subplot and the mobster shit. And I feel like the mobster shit has maybe like less than 20 minutes of actual screen time, and the rest of it is them just like driving around, her like reading some sort of like literature, and him just being like, huh? I don't know what that is. It sounds pretty good though.
Yeah.
Like him just being like you can be like kind of a dumb hitman and understand some things, but he has like, it's like he has no idea what like basic English language is.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of insane and almost insulting where he's just like there's like that scene where she's like, basically it means that you're not my type. Like I think she uses it's like metaphors for him. He like does not understand. He's like, I don't speak in metaphors because I have no idea what any of it means.
He's like the like extremely literal. Oh, like Drax. That's why I was like, he's
from
Drax
Guardians.
the Destroyer. Yeah.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah. But like if he was not played for like comedic relief because like, and I mean it is a comedy, but there was a lot of times where he was like saying stuff or acting a certain way, and I'm like, it was really hard to parse like what the balance of like, because you know it's a comedy, but it's a romantic comedy, so like I feel like some of the stuff he was doing was supposed to be taken seriously or supposed to be taken like sex, you know, it's supposed to be sexy.
Yeah.
Oh, hot. This is like the hottest couple in Hollywood, so you know they're really sexy and stuff. And oh, can't you feel that tension? But I could just never tell what. And it wasn't even just that. Like every time there would be like a scene where somebody would be talking, and then they'd bring in the, you know, like the sort of sentimental string guitar, like boo-doo-doo-doo.
The
like
music was insane.
Yeah.
It would swell at like the most inappropriate times.
Yeah, exactly. like when Brian's like, oh, I want to go there because that's where all the skinny, pretty girls are, and we can do the sex. And he's like saying stuff like that.
I think the sex is there, and like,
and then the music comes up. It's like,
and
what?
I'm like, what am I supposed to be feeling right now? Like, is this supposed to be like a heartfelt moment?
Yeah. It's like it really puts you in the character's shoes, because watching this movie I felt like Gigli or like Brian, where I'm like, I don't understand human emotions right now. I feel stunted.
The Baywatch is where they really are. They're really there. I think you could be friends there. I think that's where the sex is. I think so. I think that's where the sex is.
It was, as soon as I realized, or as soon as it was like revealed or whatever, that the person they were kidnapping was handicapped, I was like, I'm just waiting for that R word to drop. I'm just waiting for it. And surprisingly,
had a few ones.
I think there was only 2. I was kind of surprised.
Yeah, and I feel like they were mostly. Well, I think Al Pacino had one of them.
He had one, and then Ben Affleck said it.
I think the other guy did too.
Oh, okay, maybe he did.
Lawrence, the guy who kind of looked like he had had a touch of the Downs.
Right?
Lewis.
Yeah, he looked. I know what you mean. Yeah.
Lenny Venito.
Yeah. Not
Danny DeVito.
That's funny.
He kind of looks like he looks like a Vince Vaughn knockoff a little bit. Like he's kind of got that square forehead with like the sad Vince Vaughn eyes.
Yeah.
I think he calls the house and Brian picks up. And he's like, "Is this
like, yeah,
like,
I think you might be right. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a handful. I guess, yeah. Could have been worse, I guess. Like, I mean, still kind of bad, but, you know.
Right. I mean, like, for this movie and for everything else we got, I'm like, felt like it was surprisingly restrained.
The scene at the diner when, like, the teenagers are...
Yeah, okay.
They play, like, the Beastie Boys or something really loud. Mm-hmm. And, like, he's trying to get them to, like, oh, turn the music down. Mm-hmm. There was, like, a very, like, early 2000s type joke. And it made me think of... I think it made me...
I think I know what you're talking about.
I think there's who's that one comedian that does, like, the Hickory Dickory Dock? You know what I'm talking about?
Mother Goose? I don't know.
No. Oh, God. This is gonna kill me. Andrew Dice Clay.
Oh, Andrew Dice Clay. Okay. I guess I don't know the joke, but...
I'm familiar with him. His style of comedy is very similar to what Ben Affleck says when he smashes the laptop and he says suckmydick.com. Like, I feel like
that's what I thought you were gonna say.
It's either Andrew Dice Clay or it might be Dennis Leary, but like he has like a joke where the punchline is
it Hickory Dickory Dock, the mouse sucked on my cock or something like that.
Probably. I think that's where. But it's like that. The joke killed at the time because I think he did that joke in the 90s when there was like 10 stand-up comedians. Mm-hmm. So it just like it crushed.
Yeah.
But the
suck my dick of jokes.
Yes. there was like 6 comedy clubs and only 10 people did comedy, and now it's like everybody does it now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's either Andrew Dice Clay or Dennis Leary has like a punchline where it's like www.whatthefuck.com like that, and like
so
and it's like those early 2000s. That's like a punchline that you like end your set to, and you walk off stage and everyone's like, yeah.
It's like the internet. Whoa.
Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
Such a new concept. It's like, what?
Yeah, but that's what that joke reminded me of. As soon as he said it's like suckmydick.com.
Yeah,
like that's extremely dated.
It was so random too.
Nice computer. Is suckmydick.com.
She was like, I mean, I guess like I get where it was going, but like her whole like, you don't want to make a scene, so let me go up and like talk in this
about
kid's face
graphically
for, like,
ripping this dude's eyeball out.
Yeah, for like 3 minutes. That felt like that took forever for her to explain that.
Yeah, all of the dialogue in this felt like it took forever.
Yeah.
Especially like that yoga scene, or any scene where they're kind of talking about like, oh, you're a lesbian, but I love you, but I wish I could fix you, but I can't. This is I'm gonna use modern parlance. This is what the kids are saying these days.
Mm-hmm.
But he was yapping like the entire. He was he was yapping the entire goddamn time.
Yes, and speaking of that scene in particular where he's like in the car and he's like, yeah, you're right, I'm sad because I got this beautiful, like, he says like 17 out of 10 scale woman, and she's gay, she's not into me. Like, I don't know if it was playing the sad music there, but you could tell like with her like reaction, like, we're like, I don't know, maybe at the time people were like, oh man, this is real shit, like this is so sad, but it's like, I don't know, sorry, like, is she supposed to feel bad about this or something, and then they go home, and then she does like the fingernail thing, and then they bang, and it's like was it both, like, did she bang him because of the fingernail thing,
as soon as he
whined about no pussy?
As soon as he did that, I was like, she's doing the fingernail thing. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Oh, no, but I'm familiar with it. Yeah.
As soon as he like put his arm out like that to look at him, I was like, she's gonna tell him that he's gay for doing that, basically. Yeah,
and it's like, because he has that superficial, like, that means you're effeminate thing. Is that why she's into him? Because she's like, oh, like a woman. So now I see him as a woman.
You do have a tender side.
Yeah. And then
like,
she's grilling him like,
heard
are
that
you
if
gay?
your hand is bigger than your face, you have cancer.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. They should have done that too, but like just really ran with it, because it was treating all the things that they were saying like it was real. Like he was effeminate because of that, or like
they do it at the end with Brian, like before he gets to run off with all of the Baywatch babes.
Yeah.
He like, hey Brian, how are your nails looking? And he's like,
he does
they're
that.
looking good. And it's almost like Ben Affleck almost does like
he's like,
yeah, like a very affirming, like, yes, I knew you. It's like,
he's
hey bro, we just went on this harrowing adventure, but I got one more question for you. Are you gay?
Yeah.
He's like, nope. And he's like, all right, whew, pass, you're hetero as hell.
Yeah.
That sex scene, what did it imply? Because I was like, I really was hoping he was gonna get pegged or something. because
awesome.
It seemed like she was more dominant, which like because
at
the
true.
end,
when they're like
like
lying
that
in
scene
bed
where
afterwards.
she's on top,
yeah,
and like he's kind of looking up, and then he's just like, ooh, and I was like, is that it? Did she penetrate him?
I gotta say, I wasn't really paying much attention during the sex scene because it was so fucking boring.
It was, which like this is like, I don't know, because that was like, I know that was a big deal in like 2001 with Monsters Ball, where like that was even marketed as like finally, the movie where you see Halle Berry's tits.
Yeah.
Gigli, I'm just saying, if you wanted to make back that, that
It's true.
your budget, you got to show them.
True.
Show them. And it's just like, she was like fully clothed the entire time. Like, it was just like the least convincing sex scene I've ever seen. And also, right before it, I'm pretty sure he calls her Dicosaurus Rex.
Yeah. That's in that speech in the car, yeah.
Yeah. Heartthrob Orama was in there too. Like,
yes, very sexy and charming.
He's like kind of oscillating between like a 1950s like annoying greaser type
That's what
guy.
I put. Yeah, he feel like he's like a 50s gangster. Like even the way he dresses with those like
his huge
those,
like pompadour style hair.
Yeah, and those like Copacabana type like polos he's got on.
And like his accent, I feel like he was kind of hovering around like a bad Christopher Walken. Like there were certain scenes where I think he kind of lost the plot with the accent a little bit, and he was like, and I was like, it kind of sounds like he's doing a bad Christopher Walken, and I was like, which is ironic because Christopher Walken is also in this movie for like 2 minutes,
a scene,
is never heard of again.
I thought for sure he would come back at some point, like at the very end. I don't know, but yeah, him and Al Pacino, they just both pop in for one scene and then they're done. Yeah, I thought like on top of like the weird writing, and I mean, I'm sure part of this is still chalked up to writing, but like it's weird too because they were dating in real life, but like I just didn't buy their fucking romance at all. I was like, I know it's a romantic comedy. I know that it's like, obviously it's, oh, this girl shows up. Who's this? Obviously they're gonna like fall in love,
right?
Even when she says she's a lesbian, I'm like, that clearly does not matter in this movie. But like, I just didn't fucking buy their romance, and I just thought he was fucking gross. The whole like, what part, like, especially if you're making the case that like, oh, she's a lesbian, but this guy is so great that she's gonna, become bi or whatever. Because he's so hot and he's so charming and so all this stuff, but he's just like a greasy sleazeball, like weirdo. Like when she he's like, oh, sleep in my bed. I was like, my stupid thinking was like, oh, he's like letting her sleep in the bed, he's gonna sleep on the floor or the couch or whatever. But then no, he's like in the like silk pajamas and like slips it off, and he's trying to like, I mean, he's playing it up. I don't think he's like fully trying, I feel like the character has to somewhat be a little self-aware, but it's still very uncomfortable. Yes. I'd be like, all right, I'm sleeping on the floor. Sorry, guy, this is weird. Gross.
This is not worth it. Like, sleeping next to this guy is like, no, absolutely not. I would not. I don't trust him at all. I don't know this guy.
Yeah, like
she's
nothing.
Immediately just like, meh.
And up until that point, they had like all that they had done was just argue at each other, because she shows up and she's like, well, I'm doing this, and he's like, I don't want to fucking take orders from a woman, or I think it's bullshit that Lewis doesn't like trust me or whatever. So all they had done was like yell at each other up until this point. And like he's obviously like a muscle head. Like nothing about him would tell her that he would not force himself on her. They were in bed together, so I don't know. And then I guess just somewhere along the way she starts to fall for him because he's a man and she's a woman, so but
it's he gets like set off by the tiniest little things. Like they go to deliver the thumb in the mail, and she just looks at the lady working at the desk.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, is this some lover of yours, some friend of yours? Mm-hmm. And she's like, yeah, close and personal, which I didn't know how to interpret that line. I don't know if that was like her being like, I've hooked up with this, or if she was like making a joke. But then like you smash cut to him like, okay.
I don't know why, but I figured it had to be a callback because that's what he said to his mom when she's like, they're like at the door and he's like leave, and then she's like, are those your friends? And he says, yeah, close and personal. I don't know why she called back to that, but
but also like that would imply that she wasn't like a romantic person, because in the context of him saying that to his mom, she wasn't a romantic person of his. I don't know.
Well, I guess maybe that's the point. Is like she was saying she was making a joke. Like, yeah, she is a friend, close and personal, just like what you said to your mom. Like, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But then it's like it smash cuts to him like speeding out of the place, like it does the tire squeal. He's like pissed off.
Yeah. Okay,
like,
that's the part where
and that leads into his heartthrob-orama speech.
Yeah.
And it's just like all of these events are what leads up to them, like her basically caving and like having sex with him.
That's a good way to put it. She's caving, yeah.
But it's like cool. Everything that we know about this dude is that like he gets angry on a dime, doesn't understand anything. And she's like, you know what? You did the fingernails thing, and I can tell you have a little bit of effeminate in you. So deep down, I know you're actually a good person and not just like an illiterate Neanderthal. So like, yes, okay, you can have my mouth pussy now.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what the fuck about
like
what they have experienced together?
She was explaining to him, like I want you to eat me out, was essentially what she was trying to explain, and she like had her legs like open,
what?
And he still it was like
it's like what the
like
fuck?
The Room. It's like Lisa and like trying to seduce Greg.
Yeah,
and Greg's just like, he's like, what's going on here?
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, dude, how do you not know what she's trying to telegraph to you right now? And I was waiting for him to be like do the true Italian thing and like not do it, because apparently, I don't know, I'm basing this entirely off like an episode of The Sopranos, but there's an episode of The Sopranos where Tony's uncle Junior, the older guy, the buddy, I don't know if you'd recognize, he was in Dog Day Afternoon. He was his dad.
Oh, that guy. Yeah, that you mentioned. Yeah.
There's an episode where like some lady's like, oh yeah, Uncle Junior, he's he's really talented at what. And then all of the like Tony and all of the other like guys like, oh, Uncle Junior, I heard you went to the fish market the other day. And he's like, what are you talking about? And it was like they were like shitting on him for like eating pussy because that's gay. And like I was like, is this an Italian thing? Like, it's just like you don't do that. So I was waiting for him to just, he finally gets a chance. So he's like, finally, I've turned this gay woman straight for me. And then she's going to be like, okay, well, you got to do one thing. And he's just like, no, ew.
Yeah.
Like this thing that you've wanted, and then you're just going to be like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
But I guess because he looked at his nails the one way, I guess maybe he did.
Yeah, that's why he ate pussy, I guess, because he's effeminate. Yeah, I thought maybe that was all she was gonna do. Is like, I didn't realize that was gonna lead into like a sex scene, and then their like, I guess their relationship. I guess I thought she was just like, all right, we're kind of playfully like going on about this. Prove that was her being like, prove me wrong, eat me out and convince me to like fall for you. But I guess she like already had at that point or something. And then she kind of like pokes at him like, oh, maybe, are you sure you're not gay? And I was like, I knew they weren't going to go down that avenue, but I'd be like, this would be a much more interesting avenue for this movie to go. Is like he discovers that he's gay.
He's like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be incredible.
And then, I don't know, I guess he falls in love with Brian or something.
Yeah, Brian goes to like the set of the Baywatch and he can't find a babe, and then he turns and looks, and then Larry's there, and he's like, and then they both start dancing at the end.
Yeah. That also just took forever. The whole thing where he's like talking with the, you cut
The
back
Australian.
to yeah, and you cut back to Ben Affleck like doing the like head
Like
nod,
you can hear it.
yeah, yeah, that was weird too. But his
I
like
feel like
head
he even
nod,
reacts like he's like, oh.
She's when she talks, it's like he can hear her accent. He like reacts like he can hear the accent.
Like he also knows that, like, he likes the sound of the Australian woman reading off the weather on the phone.
I didn't even realize, because I think he just says like, oh, I like her voice, right? He doesn't say accent. I didn't even realize that. I got it at the end.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize it until then. So if I was Ben Affleck, I wonder if I would have made that connection. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like every woman in this movie meets the weirdest guy of all time and reacts in the most bizarre, like, just, it's like with all these things that would immediately make them turn and run, they're just like, oh wow, you're like the man for me. Yeah.
And not that, like, I mean, it's weird that like that was just, they were shooting a music video or whatever, and they need like a dance partner. And even though everybody else is in like bathing suits, this guy comes in like jeans and a hoodie, and nobody's like thinking, oh yeah, that's not gonna stick out in the final cut. This one guy. Nobody questions it or anything.
Yeah.
I really wanted it to be you've seen The Usual Suspects, right? Or like you know the ending? Do you know the whole
I know that there's
ending?
a twist. I know there's a twist. I don't specifically know the twist.
Well, pretend it's something else, but like where I wanted him to like take off his, well, yeah, I mean this doesn't happen in
like
Suspects,
Brian snaps out of it and he's actually
exactly like he was using them the whole time, and he just like as he's like walking down to the set, he like takes his sweater off that he's been wearing the whole time in his shirt, and he's like fucking jacked.
He pulls his shirt. Yeah.
And as he takes his shirt off and pulls it over his head, his curly hair like turns into like styled like
it's just like
spiked hair, and
then he turns and looks at Larry, and Larry's like, oh, like wait a minute. No, Larry wouldn't understand it. He would have been like, oh, he's been hot the whole time? Huh, interesting.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have enough capacity in his brain to realize that he's been duped by somebody.
Yeah. Yeah, probably. And then they didn't have the guts to, I thought they were going to just have her drive off, and I was like, oh, this was like
I was kind of hoping that that's what would happen.
Yeah, but then I was like, oh no, of course it's going to just go with the most basic ending. Not that would have like saved the movie by any means, but
it would have been at least something that would have gone against expectations.
Sure.
Which, like, you can give it a little bit of credit for that.
Yeah.
Well, apparently the original ending, I think Larry's supposed to die.
Oh.
But I think it tested very poorly with like audiences.
Interesting. That tested poorly with audiences.
Yeah, everything else leading up to it, great.
Yeah.
Psychosaurus Rex, awesome. Love that shit.
That stuff probably did kill at the time. Nobody.
Oh, probably, yeah.
We're like, ha ha, website jokes, gay jokes.
Yeah. In my notes, I was like, I really wish that there was like a Departed style ending where everyone just like gets killed off in rapid succession at the end.
Yeah.
Or like, maybe Brian's like the Mark Wahlberg character at the end. And
okay, yeah.
He just walks in and he's just like, okay.
Yeah.
Brian just domes Ben Affleck.
I remember at the time, I don't remember why, but I don't even know if I should say at the time. I don't know if he's ever really come out of this, but like Ben Affleck's one of those guys who, him and Matt Damon did Good Will Hunting, and then it was kind of like a joke or whatever that, you know, Matt Damon went on to do, like, he was the successful one, or like he was like he's always been kind of more critically acclaimed, and then Ben Affleck's just kind of been like a celebrity, right? And I do wonder, and like, not that he was good in this, but I do wonder if like because man, he's I don't know if he just picks bad roles or if he is like a bad actor. I remember him being good in Gone Girl, but you have a really good director behind that. And people say that's like the good Ben Affleck movie. And I'm like, I don't know if I can really think of any others where he's like, wow, he was good in it. I mean, I guess Good Will Hunting, but not that he's like a super standout, but he's good, and that's a good movie. But like, yeah, he picks like, you know, like right after that it was like Good Will Hunting, I think it was like 97, and then the next year Matt Damon does Saving Private Ryan, Ben Affleck does Armageddon. So that's kind of like the sort of trajectory that they've went. Ben Affleck does a movie with Marty Brest. Matt Damon does a movie with Marty Scorsese.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, even if you look on his IMDb, his known for Good Will Hunting, Gone Girl, Argo, and then The Town from like 2010.
Okay, that's right. The ones that he's directed, Argo was okay. I didn't like.
Yeah,
that
I
as
remember
much as a lot
Argo
of people
being
did,
fine. That won Best Picture though, didn't it?
yeah, it did. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he, like, as a director, I guess he's done pretty well. And yeah, I think I remember him being decent in that. I don't know. I don't remember a ton about that, but I do think I like The Town too.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not that he's just bad all around. I wonder like if he just has had like just terrible luck with, you know, the roles he chooses, cuz like he was the Batman in like the worst iteration of the Batman.
Yeah.
But what was? Oh no, yeah. I think I mentioned it on the show before, but he was in that movie a couple years ago, The Last Duel, and that was pretty good. And that was.
Oh yeah, is that Tony Scott who made that?
Ridley Scott. Yeah, Tony.
That's right.
Tony's died.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, that's him and Matt Damon again. So.
Oh, that's fun. That's a fun little reunion.
Yeah,
it is pretty crazy that those guys are the duo, and then Matt Damon has like eclipsed him in almost every conceivable way. It looks like Ben Affleck did more stuff with Kevin Smith than Matt Damon did, as far as it's just looking at here. It's like he's in like Mallrats, Chasing Amy.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I saw another one. Is he in like another Clerks movie?
They're
He's in Jay and
both
Silent Bob.
Yeah, they're both in Jay and Silent Bob. He might be in Clerks 2 or something, maybe.
Yeah.
I want to say they're both in Clerks 3. I haven't seen that, but I think like a lot of the Kevin Smith staples came back for that one.
Yeah.
Daredevil.
It is. That's right. I think I saw that in theaters.
Yeah,
when
I
that
did
came
too.
out, like as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think there was like another Letterboxd review that I saw that was just like Ben Affleck. This is like him becoming the sort of like the divorced guy meme, where it's like him standing on the balcony with like a cigarette, and he's just like.
Yeah, I know the one you're. There's that, and then there's the one from like a Justice League interview where he's sitting with, I think, Henry Cavill, and like somebody
and he
mentions,
just like disassociates.
Yeah. It's a bummer.
Yeah, he's kind of like a less successful like Nicolas Cage, because Nicolas Cage also has a pretty large body of weird clunkers, but very much like, you know, depending on who the director is, Nick Cage is in a lot of stuff that I would consider like great.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think Ben Affleck just needs to be a bit more discerning with like who he, you know, who he works with. And
Maybe
You know who-
that's
yeah.
maybe Nick Cage. I don't know if he is the best comparison because like he's the opposite of that. Like I think his body of work is the way it is because he has no discerning between like who he works with. He just like
That's
he
true.
just does
That's
whatever the
very
fuck.
true. That's a good point. But yeah, Ben could afford to be a bit more discerning.
Where are you going?
What else is? I mean, what's crazy about this movie though, is that if you look at like the crew that was involved, like Martin Brest is no spring chicken. He's not like some random director. Like he has a few things under his belt. Like he had done, Meet Joe Black right before this, which was okay, I guess. Like some people seem to really like it.
You know.
Yeah. What did you do? Beverly Hills Cop?
Midnight Run, which like
Yeah.
are also kind of like, especially Midnight Run. Well, I mean Beverly Hills Cop. Like this feels like a failed attempt to do another Midnight Run or Beverly Hills Cop in my eyes.
Like he's got his genre that he likes to stick in.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, his style or whatever.
I recognize the name of the cinematographer for this movie.
Let's see.
It was Robert Elswit, who did. He's worked with Paul Thomas Anderson. He's a cinematographer for There Will Be Blood, Punch Drunk Love, Good Night and Good Luck, Nightcrawler, like Inherent Vice, a lot of the Mission Impossible movies. So it's like even like, yeah. Robert Elswit was the cinematographer on this movie.
I've not heard his name before. I'm
Magnolia.
He did The Town.
Did he? Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did Hard 8. He's been with PTA he's like been PTA's guy.
Michael Clayton, Good Night and Good Luck too. Those are pretty solid. What I remember.
And I guess like looking at the cinematography in this, I guess it wasn't terrible, but like I don't know.
Yeah, man, I don't know. I gotta say I didn't recognize his name. I'm surprised that like I never keyed to his name having done like all those movies. I feel like I would have like, kind of like what you did where I'm like, oh, I think I've seen that name before, but
yeah.
But yeah, this wasn't a movie where I was like paying particular attention to the cinematography, so I don't really know. It was very quickly on I was getting major like Tiptoes vibes. Whereas like it's got like I would say this even more so than that, but it's like it's got all these like recognizable faces, like known actors.
Yeah.
This some like, Al Pacino and Christopher Walken like screen legends pretty much.
Yeah.
It's got like big names but it feels like an episode of a TV show. Like the music is not good.
Yeah.
It feels very cheap. The music especially like makes us feel so cheap. And then most of the movie is like they're in their apartment or in his apartment or they're in the car. Like it really feels like a movie on a budget. And maybe it kind of was because they blew everything on the actors that they got. I don't know.
They cashed in on Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck because they were dating at the time. So it was probably like they probably had like the highest payout because it's like, okay, like I think they were just like, okay, we'll spend the money to make the money because people are going to want to see this.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know if this is like the best comparison, but it was kind of like Mr. and Mrs. Smith when it was like Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. They were like the tabloid couple, and then it's like, okay, well now they're in a movie together, and we know in real life they're husband and wife, and now they're gonna be like trying to kill each other, but it's gonna be sexy and romantic.
Yeah.
And I think this was supposed to be that, which I don't know. It's just kind of a doomed project.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know, Martin, if you're gonna try to make your like
opus,
comedic comedic crime drama with like a little bit of lightheartedness, don't cast the biggest couple at the time.
Yeah.
And then expect people to not meddle and make sure it comes out a certain way.
Yeah, I feel like this could have been like something, I don't know, something. If you just casted like, you know, not like huge stars. Like if you casted it right and just kind of like that alone, just like those big names being in it, Christopher Walken coming in, it feels like it's going to be so much more. And yet, again, it's like it's a gangster movie, but the only like feeling you get for that is the scene with Al Pacino, and then he kills Lewis or whatever, which is like shockingly brutal for an otherwise very tame movie.
I was, as soon as that happened, and you see like one of his fish eating like the piece, like the chunk of brain.
Yeah.
I was like, this is the movie I wish that I was watching.
Right. Yeah.
This we're like, I wish we had way more Al Pacino as this like crazy mob boss guy that's like unhinged and willing to just blow anyone away who crosses him. Yeah, again, the Al Pacino scene in this was like the only time where I felt like this is like what the movie was supposed to be. Mm-hmm. And then he's gone, and then there's 20 minutes left, and I'm like, how on earth are they going to finish this movie? How is this going to end? What is going to happen? And he just drives to the beach, and he's like, it's Baywatch.
And it's it's that easy to leave the mafia, I guess. Like,
yeah,
nobody will come after you or, you know, anything. It's easy peasy.
Which would have been hilarious. That would have been a hilarious, like, dark ending where, like, they both get in the car and they drive off into the sunset, and then they just smash cut to them just, like, getting gunned down, and Al Pacino's in a convertible, and he's just, like, he's got the gun, and he blasts him, and he's like, and he drives off.
Yeah.
Give me that ending.
Yeah. I checked, so we were talking about the composer. He's also, like, got some stuff under his belt. So prior to this, he did Face Off, Ants, Chicken Run, The Road to El Dorado, and Shrek.
Interesting.
Composer of Shrek. And I Am Sam. That's right. I saw that earlier.
That's
the Born
right, yeah.
Identity.
That's insane.
And then it looks like he did like all the Bourne movies. He did. Wow. That's another weird crossover. He did Mr. and Mrs. Smith, some of the X-Men movies, Kung Fu Panda. So like, you know, he's also, you know, he's got some like pretty popular movies under his belt. How to Train Your Dragon. That's a really good score.
Yeah, I mean, even Shrek has that. Shrek has like really memorable music, like the ba da 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 da. I'm like, yeah. Well, I guess that makes sense why the music in this is like kind of like saccharine and syrupy. Is like that's kind of
maybe that's
like
it.
That's kind of like his wheelhouse.
This would be the music would be more fitting if Gigli was a DreamWorks movie or something.
That's what would have fixed it. If this had been a movie about an ogre trying to, you know, fix a lesbian ogre.
Yeah.
Maybe it could have been saved.
Yeah. We good to move on to?
Yeah, I think that's all I got.
Judgment. Okay. This is a tricky one to pin down. It's one of those where like it wasn't a slog, really. It was very... what the fuck did we do last week? No, I wouldn't say for Sinister Squad. I'm trying... Like, some recent dud we did, I think. Or maybe Island of Dr. Moreau I'm thinking of, where, like... It's just... It's interesting. And hard to really kind of... There were parts where I was definitely laughing, like the way that you want to laugh at a dud movie. But there was also a lot of parts where, like I said, I just felt uncomfortable. It's like no matter what, felt like I never was feeling the intended emotion. Sometimes I laughed, sometimes I gasped, sometimes I was shocked, but that was never the intent of the scene, which is fascinating to me. But so I think I'm gonna go with a dud, but it is not a boring dud. It was an interesting watch. A lot of interesting choices. I think there's a lot, worse options you could do for a dud movie.
Yeah.
Don't know if I'd ever watch it again, but I don't don't regret watching it, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll stick with a dud. But it's kind of like in the middle. It's one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm going with dud as well. Didn't have as many kind of those laugh out loud, oh, this is bad kind of moments. Yeah, it is, because this is one of those legendary bad movies.
Mm-hmm.
There's the list of top 10 worst movies of all time or whatever list, and this one's usually on there. So it was nice to check this one off the list, to have said, okay, yeah, I've seen one of the the all-time bad movies. Yeah, very, very baffling. Very. I think the comparison to Dr. Moreau is apt, also because the studio meddled in that one and turned it into something completely different, and that is why it's notable, I guess, because where Dr. Moreau, they were okay, we need to get this hotshot director, a real director instead of this kid in here.
Yeah.
And the tone of the movie totally changed. Same thing happened with this. The studio was no, we need to turn this into a romantic movie because no one gives a shit about a mobster movie with this couple. It needs to be a romantic movie because, it is very funny to me to think of suburban moms going to see this movie thinking it's going to be a romantic comedy, and there's just They Make My Penis Sneeze in it, and there's just it's pretty vulgar too. I think there's 124 F-bombs or whatever, the IMDb trivia counted.
Yeah.
I was sort of shocked to hear Jennifer Lopez swear a lot. I don't know, I guess I only really know her as a musician, so it's I feel actors usually, try, I don't know, musicians who kind of dabble in acting try to be good people, I guess.
Oh,
and to,
yeah.
Hear her take a role of
yeah.
kind of a villain is interesting. I guess, I'm thinking of people like The Rock, where it's just I can only be the good guy and I can only win, because I have to be a good role model. But Jennifer Lopez is what's the plot? We're kidnapping a guy with Down syndrome or whatever. Hell yeah, I'm all in. Yeah.
Yes, but they don't cut his thumb off.
Wow.
Because he's
so
endearing
empathetic
for some reason.
Yeah. Instead, we get to see. I feel we didn't even talk about some of that other stuff about him cutting the thumb off of the body in the morgue.
Yeah, that was weird.
And him and Brian singing "Baby Got Back" rhythmically to the sound of the knife cutting.
Yeah, that's right. That was weird.
That's the Spud stuff. Anything with Brian, which they did reuse him singing "Baby Got Back" in the credits near the end. One of those John Powell songs fades out, and then you just hear, "I like big butts and I cannot." I was
because that was such a great moment, and not.
Yeah, we really needed to hear this again.
Yeah.
But yeah, had those Spudly moments, but I think overall, it is a dud for me. It was 2 hours, and it didn't feel like 2 hours because as soon as I saw the runtime, and I was I don't know if I could do this. But it wasn't egregiously bad. It was just normal bad.
I saw Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire the other day.
They got shipped. You're shipping Gorilla X Kong.
That's what a lot of people were saying. If they don't fuck in this, we leave or whatever, we lose. And they do not. No, it's the continuation of the weird kind of. it's a very feels akin to DCEU sort of making up a cinematic universe as you go along type thing. Whereas like, Marvel kind of had a game plan, right? But this one feels like they did the 2014 Godzilla, and then I think that did pretty well. And then they were like, oh, let's make sequels. And I mean, it doesn't matter all that much to me. It's Godzilla. I'm very charitable for those movies.
Right.
But I do think this was like the one I gelled with the least. I did like all the monster stuff. They kind of bring in a new one where all the other monster verse, which is what they're calling them, except the first one, except the 2014 Godzilla, but all the sequels, all the like villain monsters or whatever are one like from the old movies, like King Ghidorah or Rodan, or they had Mecha Godzilla in the last one. But this one they bring in a new one, which is like a kind of rival Kong called the Scar King. And he basically has like a Godzilla mount. Like he has an ice lizard that he like rides into battle basically. So it's crazy. The monster stuff is pretty good. Like they really like I like them all in their own ways. Like I like the 2014 one because it's like a more grounded take on like a Godzilla movie, and I like how reserved and restrained it is, like how little actual monster stuff you see in that. I really like that. Is my favorite one still, and it's hard to compare with the other ones. And not that like I want that one to be these, but I also like these more recent ones for how just like nutty they are.
They just they lean into like, you want monster fights, we're gonna have monster fights. It's
exactly
big and epic. Yeah.
There's so many, like especially during the end, because they fight at the final fight is in Rio de Janeiro, a very populated city, and they're just, I mean, this is common for them, but like they're just, they fucking take a step and a whole city block is out, right? But they're like
so
throwing
many
each other into
casualties.
buildings.
Yeah.
That like I just wanted there to be a shot of Godzilla like standing up and like brushing his arm off, and you get like a close up of him like peeling like hundreds of corpses off of his arm. But he's just like scratching an itch basically or whatever.
Yeah. Oh.
But yeah, it's like I was laughing at how like just thinking of how much like how much people were dying in this, and also just like every time they fight on like the surface, because there's like they fight like underground for a lot, some of it too, so that's just kind of like its own little world, right? But like whenever they're kind of like on the surface, it's always at like a famous location. It's like they completely destroy the pyramids at Giza. They destroy a lot of Rio de Janeiro, Rome, Italy. There's like like Godzilla makes the Colosseum his like bed, and like he steps out and like tears away a wall, and it's like there's no more historical sites left on this planet.
Yeah,
it is like funny because in this iteration, because Godzilla's went through so many different iterations of just being like monster destruction, like he is the bad, and then like in some other ones, and like this line, he's Earth's protector, because he's like, sure, right, he's he's this huge monster, but he's protecting us from these other monsters. And it's like, yeah, he is, but he is still killing in the process thousands of people because he doesn't give a shit.
It's the cost of doing business. It's the cost of being the protector,
Yeah. And but yeah, my big kind of drawback for this one is a complaint that you get with every one of these monster movies is the human side, which is like the human characters are annoying and I don't care about what they're doing. And most of the time that doesn't bother me, or it's like there's enough of like a balance with the monster stuff that it doesn't bother me, or like I don't find them as annoying, or like I am kind of interested in the story. This one I felt the most like the human stuff was really pulling it back from me. Like I was getting really like annoyed with it. There was like moments, you know, it wasn't awful. Like I like the cast, like the central people. There's Rebecca Hall, who I like usually. Brian Tyree Henry, but he's probably the worst character in this. He's very annoying. He's like the comic relief character who's basically just, his job is to be like, oh no, we're gonna do that. Oh, is Godzilla gonna do that now? Like that's his whole character. And then Dan Stevens, who is like, he's probably the one character that like I kind of still enjoyed, but he's another actor that I like a lot. But still, like, they were more annoying than I usually find them.
Yeah, that's a bummer about Brian Tyree Henry, because like, I don't know, he's like really good in Atlanta, and I feel like he's kind of got one of those like Aaron Paul type careers where he's really good in one TV show, and then everything else he's done afterwards is like,
I mean, it's voice work. He doesn't do too much, but he's in the Spider-Verse movies, and I like him in that.
Oh, okay. He was in a movie. He was up for supporting actor last year for an Oscar for Causeway, which he was all right. Or I think he was good. I just don't. I thought the movie overall was just kind of, Oh, okay.
But I think he's. Yeah. He just gotta not like Ben Affleck himself and find the right roles. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think he's definitely got potential, and you know, I don't blame him for doing shit like this. I feel like watching this movie, it feels like it'd be so much fun to just be in it, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, monster stuff overall is pretty good. Like I said, I like the new guys. I like all the crazy shit that they do. Both the Scar King and King Kong have like weapons. Like they're so intelligent. Like they're basically like half people brains. Like they're very smart. The other thing that did kind of bum me out is like, it's called Godzilla X Kong, but it is mostly a King Kong movie, and as a Godzilla boy, I was a little disappointed.
Yeah, that marketing gotcha where you're like, where's the Godzilla?
Yeah. Well, the last one, Godzilla versus Kong, I thought that did a really good job of kind of balancing like the two of them and making it feel like both theirs. But like most of it's like the humans are following Kong the whole movie. So you're getting the story developing through them following Kong, and then it'll just cut away to Godzilla just fucking some people up. Like he just goes, it's literally just, you'll cut to Godzilla and it's like a monster pops up and he's like, oh, I gotta kill this bitch. And I do love that Godzilla where he's just like, King Kong kind of has like emotions and like thoughts where he's like, oh, I'm trying to, like he knows like I gotta like help these people. Or, like he finds like a little baby Kong and he's like, oh, I'm gonna protect him, and there's this bad guy, the Scar King, that's hurting all these other Kongs, so I gotta do the right thing. You know, it doesn't like vocalize this, but you know that he has like a more of like a thought process, where Godzilla's just like, I'm like, there's another monster, I'm gonna fuck him up right now. Wherever he's at on Earth, I'm going to find him and I'm going to fucking kill him. And it's even great because like there's a part where King Kong kind of approaches Godzilla at one point, and with the intent of like King Kong's thinking like, I can't beat the Scar King on my own, I need Godzilla's help. I fought him in the last one, he's a really tough dude, so I need to basically bring Godzilla back with me so he can fight this guy with me. But it's so great because like Godzilla, like as soon as he sees him, he like runs, and he's just running, and King Kong's like, wait, he's like putting his hands up kind of thing and like pointing, and Godzilla just charges him, and like, and I love that this like Godzilla's like, what the fuck are you doing here? He's like, I don't care what you want.
He's doing the Andre the Giant like,
no. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I do like the characterization of Godzilla. I just wish there was more, because I love a Godzilla who just doesn't want anything else but to like fuck shit up.
Yeah,
it's great.
Oh man, I've probably brought this up before on the pod several times. I think this might be my Mac and Me clip that Paul Rudd has.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a scene from Kong Skull Island.
Okay.
And maybe you know, have you
I've
seen that
it.
movie?
Yeah, I've seen it.
It is one of the most unintentionally funny things that I've ever seen. There's like a scene with this dude. I think his plan, he's trying to sacrifice himself. And I think he's trying to like he like kind of pulls the pin on a grenade, and I think he's expecting this monster to like grab him.
Yes.
So then when the monster grabs him, the grenade will detonate and he'll blow up. But instead of what happens is he pulls the grenade and he's standing there, and the monster just tail whips him sends him flying into the side of a mountain.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
just blows up. And everybody, like the actors in the movie, are all just like crying, like, "No, I can't believe." But like seeing that clip out of context, it is so unbelievably funny. And I think the edit that I saw actually included the sound effect of Patrick from SpongeBob when he gets launched. So he gets hit and you just hear like the oh, then poof.
Yeah.
But like, holy shit, it's so good.
Yeah, I do know the one you're talking about. Yeah. But you know, overall, if you're like, if you want to go see a big monsters fight, I think it's pretty good in that regards.
Yeah,
It's a good one to see in theaters for sure. It was fun. I'll probably check it out again at some point, revisit it. But it wasn't as like, I remember like when I watched Godzilla vs. Kong, I watched that like the next day again, because I don't know, that one just really, I really like the pacing in that one, makes it fly by, and not that this one like dragged. It just didn't hit it as well for me, even though it does bring back a monster that I like. I don't know. I know we're always loosey goosey with spoilers, but sometimes with like the fresh ones, even though I don't know, who am I fooling? Who's listening to this? But it brings back a monster that it was cool to see.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's what I watched.
Nice. Yeah, real quick. Detroiters has been added to Paramount Plus.
Yes. I heard about
So
that.
we started watching that.
Nice.
I don't know if you've seen it before.
I haven't, no, but I did want to, since I saw that it was on.
Definitely watch it, because it's basically Tim and Sam.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it, you can see where a lot of the ideas for I Think You Should Leave kind of come from, because the episodes are more like conventional TV episodes. Like they kind of have an A plot and a B plot. Like they're more like structured,
right,
as opposed to just like really, really quick, sketches and
random
ideas that
Mm-hmm.
But the way that the characters interact with each other and the outside world are very, like, they're all very like I Think You Should Leave characters.
Cool.
Like there's one where there's like, because like they're in like a marketing advertising agency. Like that's like what they do.
So they are characters that are like, they're the same people throughout the show, like
Correct,
throughout the episodes. Okay.
Yeah, so it's like they're two guys that live in Detroit, and they both work at a advertising marketing company. Like Tim's dad is like the owner who retired.
Okay.
Or I think he went crazy. That's how Tim describes it in the show. There's like a scene where like they run into like these other ad execs and like, "Oh, you're so and so's son. Tell him I said hi." And he says he wouldn't understand that. He went nuts. Something like that. Just like, it's like, yeah, like that like no reading of social cues whatsoever. There's like another one where like some tech company moves into the same building as them, and they're very, very hostile towards them, because of course they are. and like I think in the elevator, like Tim makes a joke, and then later on, the guy that works for the tech company kind of makes the same joke back at Tim, and he's like, I already did that joke. I don't think it's funny anymore. so
Okay, cool. Yeah, that
all of those like mannerisms of them just like yelling and screaming shit at each other it's all present.
How many seasons was that one?
2 seasons.
2 seasons.
And I think each one, it's a very quick watch. It's like 22-minute long episodes. I think each season has like 10 episodes, so you could probably like. We've been doing that's been like our dinner time TV show, and like I think we're almost done with the first season.
Okay, nice.
But I do think they shoot it primarily in Detroit too. There's a lot of I think Tim is from Detroit.
Yeah, I think so. I think they both are maybe, or they're from like maybe like Detroit or Chicago like area.
Yeah. There are jokes about like Tim's character living in the suburbs. Like Sam's like, yeah, you lived in the suburbs. Like, you know, you're like the type of people that claim that they're from Detroit, and then it's like, well,
yeah,
you actually lived, you know, like outside this,
like Royal Oak or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But overall, it's very funny.
Sweet. That's good to hear.
Yeah, it's something that you can watch when you're in between seasons of I Think You Should Leave, because tonally it has all of the same hallmarks of that show.
Tight.
So yeah, give it a watch. It's really good.
Yeah, I need to hop on that. I still need to finish The Curse on Paramount Plus.
Same. We're like 4 episodes in.
Are you? I went through a point where like because I watched the first episode, waited a while, watched the second episode, waited a while, and then I only have like 1 or 2 episodes left. But like I watched like 3 through 8 or whatever, like almost like back to back. And like every time I watch them, I'm like, oh, this is good. This is really interesting. But then I'll just like stop, and then it's been a while. So I don't know why it bugs me. I'm like, I want to finish it, but it's still hanging there. But yeah, I gotta do that, and then Detroiters. Maybe it's just because The Curse is very like anxiety inducing. I think that's why we haven't really watched a ton of it, is because every episode is just the way that it just creepy
ramps up.
crawly. Yeah.
Like I think how far into it are you?
I'm pretty sure, like I said, like I'll check, but I'm pretty sure I only have 1 or 2 episodes left.
Oh,
and
okay.
I think there's 10 total.
Yeah, that sounds right. I think the most recent one that we watched was like the one where Benny Safdie was like telling this woman about like his DUIs as he's driving, and then he's like too drunk to drive, and so she like gets out and they just like walk the rest of the way or whatever, like they just leave his car on the side of the road.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think 2 episodes left, so
oh nice.
Yeah, that's not even that much. I just gotta do it. But maybe I'm just worried that like, oh man, the last as like stressful as the season has been so far, I'm like the maybe I'm just dreading like the last, like the finale is gonna be like even more so. So I'm just I gotta prepare myself for it.
I think when it aired, I think there was a lot of talk about the finale and how it was like crazier than anything you could have guessed. So I do think the finale is gonna be like wild.
Yeah.
So yeah, we need to catch up on it too.
Well, we got another dud movie. Continuing our dud month. Let's see if we can still running on a. I think I mentioned this last time. We're still running on a streak of duds. Be nice to pull us bud. So let's see what we get this time. We just got 2 more of these though. So. Okay. All right. this is one. I'll just read it. It is from 2012, directed by David Guy Levy. Would You Rather? This was one that was a Travis suggestion, but I'll say I watched this one like a while, like back in maybe around when it came out. I could be misremembering because I am kind of like biased towards this kind of subgenre of horror movies. I don't remember it being like especially bad, so I'm kind of curious. Like I'm interested why he put this one on. Maybe I'm, like I said, I could just be biased. Maybe I'll watch it again and be like, oh yeah, this is actually like really terrible. But yeah, I'll
Okay.
intrigued, I guess.
For a second, I thought this was a movie that I had already seen, but the movie I'm thinking of is Truth or Dare. I think that
I can see how you get that confused.
But when I originally, like, Trevor and I watched Truth or Dare, thinking it was going to be one movie, but we watched another movie that came out the exact same year with the exact same premise, and we were like, this. I thought this had this other actor in it, and then when we looked it up, we're like, we watched the wrong Truth or Dare.
That's nuts.
But I guess this falls into that same vein of like, what if a childhood game was spooky
for real or whatever?
Like like then like whoa, what if we did Spin the Bottle or like 7 Minutes in Heaven? There's an idea. That'd be fun to make like spoof horror shorts about like 7 Minutes in Heaven or like Spin the Bottle or
7 Minutes in Hell. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Okay. Well, watch Would You Rather before next week's episode if you don't want to be spoiled for it. These episodes come out every Wednesday at 7 p.m. EST on Twitch and YouTube in video form, as well as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more in audio form. We also have social pages on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And with all that said, I am TJ, rhymes with relay. And with me as always,
I am the fucking original straight first foremost Pimp Mac fucking hustler, original gangster's gangster.
Nice.
I have the quote pulled up. I did not pull that out of my own ass. And I am Nick.
And I don't know. I already used the penis.
God bless you.
Yeah, God bless you. There you go. Shit.